Hello?
Oh, hi, yeah, this is, that negative thought you've been having, and I just can't let you try and change yourself without a fight, so, go ahead and just turn the show off, okay? And, yeah, everything's still fine.
This is Blindsight with your host, Bill Lundgren, an AINC original podcast.
You serious?
We're not holding back truth. We're here to help you heal and become the best you possible. Here's the chair, here's the pillow, here's Bill. Well, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Blindsight. My name is Jonathan Price. I am the podcast producer here at Audio Information Network of Colorado. And if you're used to hearing Bill Lundgren's voice at the beginning, don't fret, don't freak out. I am actually presenting Bill's part 2 with Aroudn and just wanted to wish you a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. I hope your holidays went well if you're listening to this after the holiday season. I hope that your 2023 is as great as it possibly can be. Here's to looking forward to all the wonderful, amazing things. This week, Bill is talking again with Aroudn, and they are talking about addiction and how to recognize signs of addiction. So, without further ado, I present to you Bill Lundgren.
Well, I know one of the things that we were able to do during the pandemic, the height of the pandemic, there were a lot of AA groups that started up online. And apparently we're quite, and certainly AA and the AA philosophy has been a mainstay, and it was the recovery people who changed the medical field about addiction.
And bounds there too. There's and then you get into the church communities, and it's not just AA anymore. They've got kind of some offshoots from it, Celebrate Recovery and stuff like that. That I Am Sober app. I mean, you're immersed in a community of people who are staying sober. I believe that one even helps with a counter. And you start your day and end your day with some sort of affirmation and new supports that weren't there years ago. So, I mean, it's not all gloom and doom by any means, but, it's again, I can't help but to feel like we'll take one step forward, and the next thing you know, marijuana is legalized, and so is gambling. It's like, well, right. Great. Well, we'll just keep at it. We'll help who we can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because marijuana is legal, it's real hard to get people to see that as a problem, or that the use of any chemical. We have the same problem with alcohol, because alcohol is legal, but we haven't made any cutoff that says it's gone beyond the pale. We in the field know the cutoff, but for the general public to say, okay, there's a problem here.
Yeah.
It's only, when there's a real clear problem in the family. For the people around the addict or the alcoholic, what kind of help do you recommend for them?
For the, like a mom or something? Is that what you're meaning? Like a parent?
Right.
Well, again,
where can people get some help in order to learn what to do to help the person with the problem? Because sometimes someone is willing to find some resources or look for some resources, but are afraid to confront the person with the problem.
Right.
It's often the first thing that needs to be done is for that person who's sober to realize there's a problem, and then figure out how they can, shall we say, confront or at least make changes in the system so that the person can think about recovery or think about getting their depression dealt with or their anxiety, because the people around, one, have to recognize, but two, they have to know, well, what do I do here?
Yeah, again, there's a lot of resources that there never were before. I mean, Colorado Crisis Services is a fantastic resource. They've got it's a 24/7 resource in each county. That you could call in, you can go in, they've got vans, they can come to you. Now it's been years since I was part of that system, but then I can't imagine it's changed drastically. I mean, you had a where you could go and stay in a 23-hour observation overnight. You could go and they're typically connected to all their, well, they're not typically, they're always going to be connected to, somebody needs to be put on a hold or needs to go to detox. But I mean, it doesn't have to go a law enforcement route as maybe it would have before, where someone's afraid of
Right. Mm-hmm.
of getting in trouble. And then of course, when you go to one of these community mental health centers, they're going to have just tons of resources available as well. So I mean, a parent in the example we used to begin with, they don't have to know everything. They've just got to take the initiative to reach out and take advantage of the resources that are there to begin with. Let the professionals who do it all day, every day, deal with it. That doesn't mean they can't play an active role. Of course they can,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, they're not going to know that there's Vivitrol that's an injectable, that if they can't get kiddo to take their pill every day or something, I mean, there's all kinds of things, and let the professionals deal with that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that the professionals now are much better skilled in recognizing and helping people with addiction issues than they were certainly back when I began in the field? You found that
I think that we've improved. I mean, there's no excuse for us to not be able to recognize things quicker, better, faster. There's certainly more resources out there, just like Colorado Crisis Services. I mean, I know when I was a kid growing up, there was no such thing as, say, a behavioral health worker, where they're not necessarily a licensed
Right.
clinician, but they certainly are dealing with people in full-blown addiction all the time. I know when I was in community mental health, they also had peer support, where people who gained a good level of sobriety or something would be a prime candidate to help the others, because they've been there, they've done that, they know what it's like, they understand what our culture produces, and they can help. So I would say, yeah, I think we are a lot better equipped and to handle things these days than what we used to be, because there's more awareness. The problem is there's more abuse. So it's much needed.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's more abuse, and it's more acceptance of abuse.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
This is what gets to me.
Well, and it's not just the acceptance. I mean, when you and I were younger, I mean, maybe you could access vodka, for example. Well, most young people, if they ever try a beer or vodka where they take their first experience is not positive, we'll say. They probably sit there and wonder, how on earth does somebody drink that? It tastes disgusting. That's not the case today. What's your flavor?
Right.
You like something that tastes like cotton candy? You like something that tastes like a Fire Jolly Rancher? What do you like? Because they make something that tastes just like that nowadays. So yes, I mean, it's not getting easier or moving away from. It's again that full scale sprint toward.
But in many ways, I wonder now if a mental health diagnosis is a lot easier for people to accept and get a child or an adult into treatment than substance abuse. So it's up to the clinician to be able to sort that out and to do a screening. I'd like to see every treatment program, a mental health practitioner, to use a SASI or a MAS I'm sorry, I'm mentioning the names of different paper tests that people can take that will give some indication of the difficulty. Someone may also be destructively involved with substance abuse. Yeah,
Bill, I totally agree. When I was the intensive care coordinator, I part of that job was writing residential assessments. So I bounced around to a lot of the different facilities in the state, and in doing so, a PHQ-9 is pretty common, a GAD-7 is pretty common. But like you say, I mean, but it typically kind of ends there. What even something as simple as a cage assessment. That's 4 questions. How? I mean, that's so simple. That's not a big at. But I agree. Yeah, I think it would behoove the system to take a little more proactive approach on that, because again, if those numbers are correct, and I'd say they're pretty close to what I have experienced, where 50% of people with a mental health diagnosis also would qualify for a substance abuse diagnosis, and really vice versa. There's a lot of play in both directions there, but yet the mental health is what's focused on, in the sense of a quick, 7-question or 9-question assessment. Well, I just use the cage, since I already mentioned it. It's 4 questions. Why would you not ask that? So 100% agree.
Yeah. And can you just help family and those around to identify what are the characteristics of addictive behavior, or for that matter, we can, in terms of how they are in terms of mental health as well. But, the things that you look as a therapist, what you look for to identify that the person has an addictive behavior.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you mentioned some of the bigger ones. I mean, if somebody comes in with the DTs or something like that, they're shaky, there's physical cues like that, right? Those aren't typically too hard to pick up on, but if you're not looking for them, you might not. I look for more subtle things,
Right.
Kiddo played sports and was very active with friends, and all of a sudden they don't play sports anymore. Their friend group changed completely. They used to wear their hair kind of long, and now they buzz cut it, or it was buzz cut before, and now all of a sudden it's longer, and they're painting their nails, or I mean, just any these like very noticeable changes in behaviors.
A change of behavior, in other words.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's
dramatic change in behavior.
Yeah, and then I like measurables. Kiddo was a 3.0 plus student, and within a semester or a year, now they're a 1.8 student. Or I mean, there's all kinds of indicators if you just pay attention. And then there's the obvious too. Are they isolating? Are they staying in their room? Are they late for work all the time? Are they and in a situation where that's not typically them? But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, and I think with kids it's a little tougher because they go through phases, of course. And I talk with
right, and that's how parents excuse. That's how parents excuse some of the behavior. Oh, I remember when I was this age, I tended not to mingle with people, or I withdraw.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, that's a sign of a problem.
There's some statistical measures that support that. One of the studies, I do a little bit of coaching myself, and one of the things that I came across, and I found it to be true, is right around 13 years old, I just liken the phrase maturity jumps. Kiddos at 13 that used to always play soccer or baseball or whatever, and now all of a sudden they don't play anymore. Well, right around 13, that's a huge swing. I mean, I don't want to get into TMI, but perhaps they have hair where they didn't used to have hair. They're all of a sudden 5 inches taller than they used to be. Mm-hmm. That girl that was so annoying on the bus on the way to school for years, all of a sudden she's really cute, and or whatever, you pick it, So sometimes those changes are very reasonable and very age appropriate. They happen. They're statistically proven. But I mean, as a parent, I guess in that scenario, okay, but what else is it? Did the friend group not just change, but change drastically? And what are the kids like that it changed from and to? What about the appearance? Did the appearance go from, I don't know, wearing the same hoodies as all the other kids, and now all of a sudden it's nothing but black? There are other cues. Yes, some of it you can write off as absolutely very, very age appropriate changes and transitions and such, but cumulatively there should be more warning signs than that.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing from you, Aaron, from your perspective, particularly around kids, but also with adults, maybe we look at substance abuse, addiction, as part of a greater issue. As you say, the numbers in terms of the pretty likelihood of mental health issues involved as well. So we can't look at it really as separate issues, but something in general is going on.
Absolutely.
And leave it to the professionals to make that distinction.
Right.
As to which is which, which I think could be easier for parents to say, no, I just see something's wrong and I wanted, if we could just have the person that they're worried about evaluated, or get them to say, well, why don't you talk to so-and-so? Then we can see what's going on. Rather than even doing a diagnosis.
Right. Well, and you touched on something within that as far as society goes, and as numbers change and stuff. There's a lot of research out there, and I got to kind of dig through the cobwebs. But when I go back to my bachelor's degree, I remember Accounting 101. My teacher told me, she said, if you remember one thing from this class, remember this: people lie, numbers don't. If your information is anything close to accurate, it's going to tell you the story. Well, you can hop on SAMHSA.gov, I believe it is, or any of these information gathering entities, and you'll see suicide rates, pick a topic or pick a substance. I remember when I was in my getting my certified addictions classes, my licensed addictions ultimately, but an article that I read, it was I can't even remember which one it was, but it was talking about one of the oxys, Oxycontin, oxycodone. I don't remember which one it was. But it was the gist of the article was that while the U.S. makes up roughly 5% of the world's population, at that point in time, we were consuming 80% of whatever oxy they were talking about. If the average Joe can't look at that and say, Houston, we have a problem. I mean, I don't know how it could be any more glaring than that. And at that point in time, if we weren't in the top 3 of every substance abuse category, we were certainly in the top 5. I mean, it's just our culture. And so absolutely. I mean, and again, we're not moving from it. We're moving towards it. Marijuana apparently isn't enough. Now we've got to check into some magic mushrooms. And now we've got, I mean, to me, it's very obvious. But unfortunately, I believe the wine sales in grocery stores was approved. So I don't think that society shares my point of view in general.
So we've got a problem. The question is recognizing the problem and also recognizing when it is amongst us. That is, it's the people that we care about who have the problem. It's not a matter of stigma. It's a matter of they're part of society, and that something's wrong. Something's not acceptable. The holiday party, that's when a lot of people go off the rail and sometimes don't stop. And that's when we have to say, wait, there has to be some parameters that we operate, that what's okay and what is not. As you say about DUI, just drinking and driving, period. Not just point one. The big difficulty in substance abuse in our field is our brains. We, under the influence, the frontal lobe is anesthetized, and that's where our rational thinking is gone. And if people can keep that in mind, and that is developmentally is the most sensitive area of our brain, and therefore is the most affected by addictive substances, and therefore our judgment is impaired. So that has to be understood. If your judgment is impaired, so you don't know whether you can drive or not. You think you can, And so those around us, around the person who's got the problem or who is under the influence, has to be willing to say, no, your judgment is impaired.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
And start from there.
Well, and you touch on that, the brain and frontal lobe and stuff. I mean, I've got I believe it's a 5-minute video, and it's kind of silly, I admit, but I always have parents watch it. But it helps that it just uses very, very matter of fact examples of dopamine and how serotonin works and uptake and satiation levels and different things that they can look at, because inevitably I'll have a parent like, well, I don't understand why they can't just stop, and it's like, well, it's a disease. It's not an on-off switch. So I'll have them watch that video, and it's like I say, it's a little silly video. I think it's gosh, I wish I could remember Doherty, I think her name is. She did a great job with it. But yeah, I mean, I'll have them watch that, and there again, just a little bit of education, and there now you understand why two guys can leave from work and stop by the bar and grill, and one has a beer or two, and well, I got to go and get to my appointment or to dinner or whatever it is that they have planned for the rest of the evening, and the other one turns into 12. Because that's how his satiation works, and that's how know. But there's little things out there like that are super easy, totally accessible. Anybody that can operate a computer or their phone can get to it. But yeah, it's tough.
How can they get to it? Do you know? Is that a YouTube?
It is. If you could see my desk, it's covered with papers. Doherty's her last name. I can't remember Gosh, if I could just remember it, I could look it up. But it's a video that I have written down for parents, and of course, right now in my piling system, I don't see it.
Okay, so people can just use the computer in a useful way and find out more background, so they can have an understanding to be able to help the person get the help that he or she needs.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all kinds of.
So it really.
I found it. It's The Pathology of Addiction by Janice Doherty. 7 minutes. Doesn't take long.
Okay. So that's certainly one place that people can look and understand, get to understand the nature of addiction, so they can feel less intimidated in talking to somebody about what they're seeing. Right.
And then they can also understand
sometimes why that's what an intervention is.
Well, they can also understand why it's different from one person to another, and why one person can really go along with the program and have a beer or two or whatever, and then go on with their evening, and it's not a big deal. And the other one, they can't. Their chemical makeup is different. Their way they process things is different.
And that gets rid of the stigma.
Well, and I'll use the example a lot of times with kids. They don't know him, but when I was a kid, I knew him. He was just drafted by the Boston Celtics, Len Bias. And I'll tell him to pull up the Len Bias story. He had never, pretty clean kid from all accounts and stuff like that. Well, the night of the draft was this kid just became a millionaire, drafted by the Celtics of all things, and for the first time ever, he goes ahead and he tries cocaine. Well, he never woke up again. So you tell me if his body chemistry is like everybody else's. It's just we're all different. So
if we can understand that, we can then feel less stigmatized. Say, your body chemistry is not able to process substances like other people. So you have to be responsive to who you are, what your body can do, and be respectful of your body. And it isn't a matter of, there's something wrong with you. It's a matter of your body chemistry.
We're all different. Definitely. And then, and I think there's the obvious, you take a person that's 5'4" and 110 pounds, and you take someone who's 6'3" and 240 pounds. Well, Common sense, I think, would tell you, but certainly basic physics would tell you it's probably going to take a little more alcohol, so to speak, for the 240-pound person than the 110-pound person. However, what if that 240-pound person has never drank before and that 110-pound person drinks all the time? Their satiation level is going to be very different. And while you would make the assumption that, well, that's not exactly how that situation is going to go either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the reasons the NIH has always said that social drinking for a male may be 2 drinks at an event. Mm-hmm. But for a woman, it's 1. Because the body chemistry and body weight and so forth is very different.
Yeah.
But you and I have seen women who drink much more than 1 and don't understand. And as they say, drink the guy under the table
absolutely.
And don't understand it. That's the difference we're talking about.
When I was now again, we got to battle through the cobwebs. But when I was a police officer years ago, one of the first times I ever encountered a DUI situation was a female, I don't know, I'm going to say mid-40s. Her blood alcohol, I believe, was a 0.43, if I'm not mistaken. She was still walking and talking. She was still, and you just sit there and it's just mind-boggling sometimes how I can only imagine how long she had been drinking to get to that point. I mean, that's
sure.
You're starting to get into those lethal levels of wow. I mean, that is crazy.
You got it.
Now, she wasn't very functional, don't get me wrong, but she could walk and talk. And it just blew me. Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
So I think what we're saying as a holiday gift to the people you love is to be aware if they're starting to get into trouble, because they really are not in a position to acknowledge or to even see that they're in trouble.
Yeah, could be.
And the parent or the family member say, look, this is not judge them, but say, this is the evidence that you're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, or make it more about family, make it more about the celebration, make it more about the gifts, make it more about anything. I mean, I don't know how many times, you talk to somebody and so-and-so showed up and they'd already been drinking and the sun is still out front. It's like, geez,
yeah.
But you got to understand some people can't even take a day break, well, don't feed them booze.
Yeah.
Kind of simple.
And people say, well, it's the holidays. I can't, everybody's drinking. I can't not drink. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can.
Yeah. Well, what I tell my clients is then don't go. Stay home this year. Try staying home this year. Do a Zoom call. I don't care what, because everybody's different again. I don't care what it takes for you on your path of sobriety to get there, but do that. And, because again, you get into our culture. Mm-hmm. I mean, here's one of my pet peeves in our culture currently right now. There's every year, every now and again, you get these catchphrases, right? Well, the buzzword that drives me nuts is harm reduction treatment. We're going to give you medication that reduce the cravings. And so now instead of going out and getting totally, crazy drunk, well, you're only going to have 2 or 3. Well, A, good luck with that approach. And B, it embarrasses me as a licensed addictions counselor to know that that's part of it. To me, that is nothing more than classic minimization and enabling and all the things that you're trained early on not to do. And yet here we are as providers doing just that. But again, that's driven by our culture. That's what a lot of, and I guess if nothing else, perhaps it could be a good start. Maybe they're in that pre-contemplation stage where they realize they should slow down a little bit, so I don't want to make it sound like it's horrible in that sense. But in me as a licensed addiction professional, that's a tough pill for me to swallow. Where I just sit there like, wow, that's where we've, I guess I can't even say evolved to, because I don't know that that's evolution. I think that's a step backwards. But It's where we're at.
Well, one of the things that, listening to what you're saying, I'm thinking about one of the ways that people can get some understanding of whether or not they have a problem is if they make a decision at a party or anything, any place else, to either not use at all, or, as they say with alcohol, to be at a party and one drink and that's it. If you cannot maintain that, you've got a problem.
Yeah, there's lots of different ways to measure it. I had a client, trained professional, a teacher, an educator, both at the high school and college level. Never had a DUI, happily married. She's really a cool lady. I mean, she was nice to talk to. She was very, very intelligent and insightful. Her issue was drinking. And she asked me, she's like, how can I decide if I have a drinking problem or not? And when you have none of those measurables, you don't have a DUI, you don't have any of these strong indicators, you can do a cage assessment or whatever. But I asked her real simple. I said, are you drinking the drink or is the drink drinking you? And she just paused and she looked at me and she's like, I think that's a great question. I don't, and I said, well, think about it. Can you stop? So when you say that, can you go to the party and just sip on a beer or whatever? If you can't, that's an indicator that you may have a problem.
Right.
So what her and I came up with was, how long do you think you could go without drinking? A couple days, a week, a month? What would be a good measuring stick for you to decide, yeah, I think I got this, or it's a struggle. And she came up with a week. I think I should absolutely be able to go a week. As it is, I already go days without, so let's just shoot for a week. Well, guess who I didn't see for 3 weeks? And she came in, and she only came in one more time, and she was very embarrassed that she couldn't make it even a week. So here's someone, no DUIs, no measurables, great marriage, really, really neat lady, right? Well, I don't know that on any of these questionnaires she's going to show up as an alcoholic. But I think in her not coming back in and then her only coming in once, I think she answered the question herself. The drink was drinking her, and she couldn't stop. She probably needed to. She needs to do something different. And that's why I say it looks a little different for everybody.
Right. Well, we've given people a whole lot of information and hope that people will use it. And certainly one of them is to try a holiday gift of sobriety for the holidays, or however you want to measure, as Aaron has just said, changing your behavior and see if there's a problem for you. And then you can decide what to do afterwards and perhaps give yourself the gift of a sober lifestyle. This has been educational, Aaron, and I thank you for being on today. And I look forward to maybe we'll have more opportunities to talk and find out, talk more about the field. And we will then wish you a happy holiday, and to all in our audience, happy holidays also. This is Bill Lundgren from Blindsight, a product of the Information Network of Colorado. Thank you.